Have you ever seen something that only you could tell was wrong? A car. I thought I was just tired. Spring break was supposed to be my time back home. No parties, no Vegas, no drinking, just sleep in peace. But then, the ice cream truck showed up. No one outside of me noticed. No one outside of me saw it turn every hour. And no one believed me. Until, 2 kids went missing. This is not a ghost story. This is a fact. So real happened day with me. And if you ever had that feeling only you see the strange thing, then stay. Because after 0 o'clock, I'm going to tell you something that no one else gets to tell. I'm a senior in engineering. And honestly, I've never felt as exhausted as I have this past year. It's not that the writing is too hard, but the little things that keep repeating themselves like a broken clock. Group assignments with never-ending text chats. Friends arguing over the same shit. The support teacher's delusional email regrades that leave me with just one dot of solution. It's all like little pains on my fingertips, not painful enough to feel, but enough to make things harder. So when spring break rolled around, I didn't have to think long. No Miami, no Vegas, no camping in Joshua Tree. I just wanted to go home. My house was about a 2-hour drive from campus, in a quiet, old-fashioned neighborhood where people still weeded on Sunday mornings and trash was picked up on Wednesdays. Nothing special. And the main thing I needed, nothing. My parents both work during the week, so I'll have the house to myself all day. I'll bring my laptop, some books, my sneakers, and promise myself that I'll get enough sleep. Hit the gym every morning. Stay off social media, and eat anything less than royalty. Live a decent life. No one will care for a week. I come home Sunday night, eat my mother's home-cooked meal, and go to bed early. No daydreaming, no waking in the middle of the night. Just the quiet time that stretches from the moment my head hits the pillow until the sun shines through the window screens. Monday, 6 in the morning, the alarm goes off softly. I don't fall back asleep like I usually do. I actually get up, put on my hoodie, shoes, drink some water, and head to the car. It's still chilly, no birds, just the wind rustling through the neighborhood trees. I drove along the familiar deserted streets. Slowly, peacefully. Everything was as I remembered. The houses were quiet. The streetlights were still on. A few weeds along the edge of the road. Small details that I had never noticed before but now felt strangely comforting. I was listening to a familiar lo-fi playlist. No lyrics, just soft beats to help my mind drift. And then I found it. One ice cream truck. It was quiet on the side of the road, about 3 houses away from me. No lights on, no music playing, no movement. That indicator. An unidentifiable object in the middle of the attribute box. I ran back instinctively, slowing down. I don't know if you've ever seen an ice cream truck in the winter, but to me, that image completely wrong, like someone walking into a funeral by default. Everything about the car was out of place. The time, the weather, the time of day. It was 6:30 a.m. Between March. It's still cold, no kids are out, and I've certainly never found an ice cream truck in the neighborhood during my idyllic stay. I slowed down, glancing through the glass door. There was no one inside. I don't know why that makes me feel chilling. It's just a car. Something has to happen somewhere. The owner is tired and needs to stop. Maybe the car broke down. Maybe this is an early summer promotion. I thought of all sorts of reasons to push that feeling away. But they didn't work. That corruptee. And that makes it so wrong. I shook my head, stepped on the gas, and continued on to the gym. Maybe I was just influenced by the lo-fi playlist you listened to. I needed to sweat, to get my blood pumping, to feel alive, and the gym did just that. I don't think much about the car anymore. Until I come back. Around 8:30 a.m., I drove home. It was morning. The sun was starting to shine on the roofs. I thought, surely the car has gone. But no, it's still there. Live same place. And this time, there was someone inside. I slowed down as I neared the fall. My heart starting to beat faster even though I wasn't running. The ice cream truck was still sitting on the side of the road, as if it had never left. I even started to wonder, are you sure you drove past here over 2 hours ago? I could be wrong. It could just be new. But no, I recognized the crack in its windshield. A long, faint line running from the left corner down the middle. I had found it that morning. And the thick brush on the underside of the car showed that it had not been moved for a considerable period of time. I leaned slightly toward the steering wheel as I passed. The daylight revealed details I hadn't noticed before. The truck was old, painted white with faded pastel protective paint, peeling in patches like shedding skin from a snake. The ice cream stickers were scratched, dented, and weird. Odd enough that even if there was a real ice cream truck, no kid would want to run towards it. And then, I found it. Sitting on the boat, a man, or rather a basketball man, sat motionless. His face turned toward me, as if he had known I would pass by at that moment. His eyes, stuck on me like a steel hook. No data, no fear, also smiling. Simply looked directly, without blinking. And me? I couldn't take my eyes off him either. The man had a long, gaunt face, with a strangely thin nose, long and curved like a cartoon character in scale. Moss grew in irregular rows, like weeds growing in the wasteland. His hair was messy, dark, almost Gmail-like, in his eyebrows. And his eyes, the ones that kept me up at night afterward, empty, no light. No life, just two deep pools as if he could see through me without the worm. The resolution only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. I immediately turned my head away, pretending to be adjusting the radio. I didn't know why I did it, it was probably instinct. Like a small animal riding its head when it saw the eyes of a predator. I silently salivated, unconsciously stepping on the gas a little harder. After reflecting, I didn't look back. I didn't want to know if he was still looking at me. I wasn't sure I was calm enough to know the answer. I got home, locked the door, and stood there for a moment as I took off my shoes. I didn't run, but my hands were sweating. That feeling, that look, still stuck with me like min on my skin. I reassured myself, maybe he was just homeless. Maybe someone rented an old ice cream truck to live in. Maybe I was exaggerating because I was so stressed out all the time. I chuckled, took a long drink, and opened my laptop to check some emails from school. But I can't concentrate. That look, it doesn't leave my mind. I turned on Google and typed in a few words. Old ice cream truck parked strangely in the neighborhood. Nothing specific, just a few articles about street vendors, sometimes unlicensed. I couldn't find anything related to the man. But as I scrolled down to the images section, I was stopped by an illustration, an old ice cream cart parked in the fog. With the caption, "The Return of the Dream Car in Ohio in 1993. My heart skipped a beat. I clicked on it. The story was about a double disappearance. Two kids who disappeared from their yard after someone reported them approaching a strange ice cream truck. The truck was never seen again. No cameras, no numbers. I shook my head. No way. It was just a coincidence. Where was the ice cream truck? The driver looked strange, but it wasn't a crime. But no matter how I tried to rationalize, I don't feel relieved either. Because I know clearly, there is something wrong with him. That afternoon, when I went out to get the mail, I suddenly sang the road to the right of the house, and dropped my whole bunch of keys. The ice cream truck haste transfer. It is no longer in its old place. It is now parked, just 3 houses away from me. Across the street, the front facing straight towards my house. This time, the database remained silent, no sound, no steps, but I could clearly feel something moving in the weapon, something similar to fear. But deeper, intuition. And my intuition says clearly, he didn't just stop by. He was watching me. I backed slowly into the house, holding the door as gently as possible, as if the familiar click of the lock might give away my location. My heart was still pounding like a weapon, each beat threatening. I leaned against the door for a few seconds, trying to steady my breathing, but my mind kept repeating the same thing over and over again. The ice cream truck has moved. It didn't just happen to park near my house. It knew where I live. That afternoon, I couldn't do anything. All my spring break plans, resting, reading, exercising, suddenly seemed silly. I couldn't take my eyes off every door, every crack, every window that gave me a view of the street. Every little noise would startle me, the wind hitting the window, the leaves falling on the roof, the branches tapping against the wall. And every time, I would run to the window to check. Every half hour, I would find the ice cream truck appear in another location in the neighborhood. It would be under the shade of a tree across the street now. It would be around the corner of number 47. It would suddenly be in the middle of the road, the engine still off, as if someone had tried to get it there without making a sound. But what shocked me most was not the transition, but every time I look out, it all faces my house. The car never turned away, as if it had a clear mission, to follow only one house. My house. I took out my phone and started taking pictures of each location. I sent the pictures to a few classmates, just to ask if they saw anything strange. But someone responded. One kid left an automated message, "In Cancun. We'll read later." Another kid casually typed a laughing emoji, followed by, "Maybe writing a horror movie script?" No one really paid any attention. I realized, I'm the only one seeing this, and I'm the only one living it. At 4 p.m., I decided I couldn't sit still. I needed to know what was going on. I remembered my brother leaving a small straw in his room when he moved out. An old hobby from his birdwatching days. I never thought I'd need it. I rummaged through the closet, found the dusty old box, and carried it into the living room, which had the best view of the street. The curtains were drawn, allowing me to see without being seen. I held the straw to my eyes, willing my hands to start sweating. I was exactly where the car was. It was still there, parked right under the tree in front of the Geller's house. Exactly 3 houses away from mine. And then, I froze. He was looking at me too. Qua pipe of your taw. We looked straight at each other, through 2 pairs of lenses, more than 20 meters away. But it felt like face to face. No expression, no input, no reflection of anything, but the way he downpiped blockage. Then approached the person car, which stopped me from dropping the device from my hands. The engine hummed slowly. The old metal groaned in pain. The car started to roll, slowly moving away from my sight. But before it disappeared behind the trees, he leaned toward the window, as if to get one last look. Not smiling, not continuously, just confirming something. I sat down heavily on the saddle. The tube slipped from my hand, falling to the floor with a clack that made me jump. No doubt about it, I am following. Not by a car, not by a joke, but by a very real man. Very targeted. And the target is me. I didn't wait any longer. I called the alarm. My voice was shaky, but it grew more certain as I recounted the incident. The ice cream truck had appeared early in the morning, for no apparent reason, changed location several times, and the man inside had watched me through the exhaust pipe. The next person on the call listened attentively. When I finished, she said gently, "We will be sending a patrol car to your area. Please hold the door and do not approach the car." I nodded, knowing she couldn't find it. The afternoon fell quickly. The light outside changed from pale yellow to orange-red, then gradually increased to intense darkness. I turned on all the lights in the house. The blinds were drawn. The front door, the back door, and the basement door were all mechanically locked. I carried my phone everywhere, fully charged. My intuition whispered something I didn't want to hear. Tonight will not be like any other night. Since the alarm call, I felt like I was entering a period of time stretched to the point of absurdity. Time no longer passed by minutes, it slept by the clock. As if the space around me was trapped in a sealed box, where every little sound rang like a bomb going off in my head. I turned on all the lights in the house, not because I was afraid of the dark, but because I was afraid of things shouldn't in the dark. I moved around with my phone in my hand, my eyes glued to the screen like it was my last lifeline. Whenever I heard the sound of a car in the distance, I would stand up and look through the narrow gap. But there were no patrol cars, just ordinary cars, or the distant echo of an engine that I couldn't place. At 6:30 p.m., my parents came home. I heard the door open and dropped the phone in surprise. They called my name from the front window. I walked out of the living room, my heart still pounding, feeling like I had run for miles. My mother looked at me with surprise. "Why are all the lights on? Son, what's wrong?" I sat them down and told them everything, from morning to afternoon, about the ice cream truck, the strange man, the icy eyes, and the call to the police. I left out no detail. I thought they would laugh, think I was overreacting, but no. Arranged for me, who was skeptical and practical, to just listen silently. Then he would stand up, go to the front door, check the lock, then go around the house checking the windows. My mother would put her hand on my shoulder, gently. "I'm here with you. It's okay. I want it. Please." But my intuition, the one that has been calling since morning, refused to be quiet. It whispered in my head, "It's not over yet. Tonight is when it all begins." Dinner that night was unlike any other homecoming. There was no TV, no laughter, just the sound of horns and a quiet, tense atmosphere. After dinner, my dad checked the front camera on his phone, but that camera only recorded from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to save battery. Dark date would not record anything. I went up to my room, intending to get some rest, but every sense warned me not to sleep. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining a series of scenarios: the ice cream truck returning, the lights turning on, the music playing, and silent figures walking out from inside. I checked my phone, no missed calls, no messages from police. A sudden sense of frustration crept into each facility. Why hadn't they arrived yet? Why hadn't anyone checked that car? Why had I just seen the danger? At nearly 11 o'clock at night, my mother entered the room. "Can't sleep?" I nodded. Mom walked in, carrying a cup of hot tea. The gesture triggered me. During the time it took to resolve the issue, I was no longer a senior in the city. I was back to being a 10-year-old kid, scared of the noise in the attic, looking to my mom for some safety. We sat side by side on the edge of the bed, saying nothing. There was only the ticking of the clock and the wind tapping lightly against the window. Then my mother said something that made me stop. At that time, my mother went behind the house and saw tire marks on the lawn. I turned my head toward my mother, my hands turning white again. Where exactly? Right next to the fence on the left. Like someone parked a car close to it and backed away. But I couldn't find anything. I couldn't hear the engine either. I didn't say anything. I just got up, went to the window, and pulled it open slightly. The sky outside was dark, without a street light, but in the midst of that darkness, I felt something move. No sound, not an image, just a distinct feeling that someone I looked back at me from the other side of the darkness. I drew the curtains. That night no one knocked on the door. There was no ice cream truck in sight. No sound, no movement, only absolute silence. A silence more terrifying than any scream I had ever heard. And then, I paid in that state. I don't remember when I fell asleep. But before I fell asleep, I responded. If something is waiting, it is waiting for the right moment. I don't remember when I fell asleep. But when I opened my eyes, the phone clock showed 3:07 a.m. The apartment was dark. A nightlight was still dim in the corner. But it wasn't enough to dispel the sense of gloom that hung in the air. I frowned. Something had woken me, not an alarm, not a dream. I lay still for a few seconds, listening, and then I heard it. Very soft, very far away, as if coming from the very end of the block, was a recurring melody. Humming in the night screen. Musical note. Are your ears drooping? Are they vibrating back and forth? Musical note. I feel goosebumps all over. It's ice cream truck music. No way. Not at 3 a.m. There can't be an ice cream truck driving through this neighborhood in the middle of the night. When all the windows are closed. When the children are fast asleep. When the world outside holds its breath in the dark. I sat up, heart pounding, adrenaline surging. The music was still playing. Soft but clear. The melody was sweet, cheerful in a way completely opposite with the situation. I stood up, walked to the window, and pulled it open slightly. Outside was a special beach. No paths, no moonlight, just the dim light from my window, reflecting off a portion of the front lawn. I can't find the car. I just listen to music. And then, have echo. A very soft sound, like small stones or pebbles hitting a glass window. I was startled and turned my head to look. It is my room window. I stood still. Once again, it was clearer. A small stone member hit the glass. I crept closer and lifted the curtain slightly. This time I found him. Man from ice cream truck. Standing. Right in my yard. Right under the second floor window. And he is not alone. To his left and to his right. Each side is a child. The high-ranking men came to celebrate him. Holding his hand like flesh and blood figures. Heads bowed. Hair covering their faces. Silently coming to his side. I want to stop beating. The man looked straight up at the window. His eyes met mine. No startle. No retrospection. As if he know I will wake up. No, I will look. The ice cream truck music still plays somewhere in the background. Like a period soundtrack to the moment unfolding before our eyes. I backed away from the window. Almost falling backwards. Every living thing exists within me. I opened the door and ran straight to my parents' room. Dad, Mom, there's people in the yard. There's kids. Something's wrong. He got me up immediately. He wasn't one to be easily triggered. But my voice, broken with hysteria, was enough to let him know this wasn't normal. We ran downstairs. I tried to dial 911 just as my dad opened the front door with an old basketball hoop in his hand. But when the door opened, empty yard. No one, no music, no children, no ice cream truck. I was almost crazy. I see them. They're right there. I see them clearly. The warning came 10 minutes later. I told them the whole story. But this time, in a state of confusion, they listened, but found nothing. They shined flashlights around the yard, checking for footprints in the grass, tire tracks, any sign that I wasn't making it up. Nothing. There was only me and the memory of what had just happened, so vivid, so real that I could picture every detail of his face, every wrinkle in the children's shirt, every long note of the ice cream truck music. They warned that they would be increasing patrols in the area. They advised me and my family to keep our windows and doors locked. But I know they don't believe it. No one believes you when you say he saw a man standing in the middle of the yard at 3 a.m. holding two nameless children, not saying anything, not moving, just looking. At night, I don't sleep in my room. I'm in the living room, between lights, with the layout next to me and the phone still on the trigger. I don't sleep, I just wait for morning. And while I waited, one question kept repeating itself in my head. Who were those two children? And could they still exist? I couldn't sleep that night, even though I locked the door, turned on all the lights, and had me sleeping next to him. I couldn't sleep. Every car passing by, every wind blowing through the windows, every tree branch knocking on the roof. I woke up, my heart pounding like a drum. In my mind, the image of that man, with his emotionless eyes, his long face, his stony nose, and the two children standing silently beside him, was as clear as if it had happened just seconds ago. I looked at my watch. It was almost 5 a.m. The first light of day was beginning to filter through the cracks, bathing the simple apartment in a cold blue. I walked out the door before my parents woke up. And everyone was normal, unbelievable. No footprints, no car tracks, no rocks under the window. The ice cream truck I saw with my own eyes also disappeared completely. As if it were just a strange dream. I walked along the driveway in front of the house, even stepping out to the corner where the car had been parked the afternoon before. There was nothing, no tire marks, no oil drops, no litter. The street was so perfect it was almost too clean compared to normal. I went home, drank the hot water my mother gave me, and sat at the dining table, saying nothing. My mother saw me soaking, and gently tapped my shoulder. Sometimes, you get too tired. Can you imagine? I didn't answer, because I was wondering the same thing. Was it stress that created a paranoia? Or was there a real part, blocked by the restless sleep and the darkness of the night? But then I remembered that feeling. The feeling of his eyes locking on me. The feeling of the two children greeting me, motionless as statues, their hands still holding the man's. The feeling of me witnessing something should not be witnessed. I decided to call the alarm again. Not because I thought they would do anything, but because I needed to prove that I'm not crazy at least. I did what I could. The voice of the dispatcher was the same as before, professional. Calm, but cold as ice. I recounted the events of the previous night. This time I was calmer. I tried to be as clear, detailed, and logical as possible. They were silent for a moment and then said, "We have no record of any other calls from your area overnight. Nor have any patrol cars reported seeing the vehicle as you describe. But we will keep a record. And if anything happens again, please call immediately." Hanging up, I felt like I was talking to a tape recorder. No empathy, no skepticism, no ideas. They were just doing their job. Then everything picked up again, suspiciously. I couldn't find the ice cream truck. There were no eyes. There was no "Do Your Ears Hang Low" playing in the middle of the night. I still got up early every morning, went for a walk, but always had the feeling that someone was walking behind me and I couldn't turn around to see. My mother never mentioned it again. My father began to think I was just having bad dreams because of the stress of studying. I wanted it to be so. But every night, when the house was quiet and I lay alone in the dark, I found myself, wait, I don't want the car to come back. But because of me scared the gap that is left. Something happened. I know. I saw. But somehow, the world seems to never know. 3 weeks later, I went back to school. The semester ended in a busy way. Final exams, graduation were approaching. Life seemed to want to enjoy whatever was left of me. But then, A call from my mother pulled everything back into place. Honey, I don't know if I should tell you or not, but this morning, there was news on the local internet. There were two twins, a boy, a girl, missing from a residential area near my house. About 30 minutes drive from my room. I almost didn't get a mark. Names Caleb and Chloe, age 6. They disappeared from their yard at 3 a.m. No one heard anything. No car found. No security cameras caught clear images. I stood frozen in my dorm apartment. Two children, one boy. Picture, 6 years old. Middle of the night. No trace. I thought of that night. Of the man's eyes. Of the two children standing beside him. Heads bowed. Motionless. I have no more doubts. It's them. I don't know if they're alive. I don't know if they're scammers. Or captured. Or manipulated in any way to be part of that monster screen. But I do know, they used to stand in my yard. And I can't do anything. I sat silently in front of the computer screen, reading and rereading the article my mother sent me. Each word was like a command to punch. Twin brothers, Caleb and Chloe, disappeared from their yard at 3:02 a.m. No witnesses. None of the cameras captured any desirable images. The mother woke up to the sound of the wind blowing through the window. But when she stepped out, the two children were gone. The words kept repeating themselves. Like words. But I didn't need to read any more. I know exactly what I saw today that night. I knew his face. I clearly remember the light from the night lamp falling on three motionless figures in the middle of the yard. Like three paper cutouts. Placed in a dark scene where I had unwittingly become the only prosthetic leg. And the most important thing is, I was close to being able to open the door and call those two kids back. But I can't do anything. I couldn't sleep for days after that. Not because of fear, but because guilt. The feeling that I could have done that one thing. Just one little thing. And maybe things would have been different. Maybe the two kids would be sitting at breakfast with mom now. Or talking over toys. But I closed the door. I backed away. I did silent. But a few weeks later, a new piece of information emerged. A miracle. The alert found two children, alive, locked in a van disguised as an ice cream truck. Hidden in an abandoned garage nearly 60 yards from their home. The man was described as a psychopath who wandered around under multiple identities, using music and scent to manipulate children's minds. Unknown how the two children got together. But the sweet thing to read is the last line of the news article. An anonymous call about an ice cream truck in a bustling residential area helped direct the search. I don't need to define. I know, it's my call. At the end of spring break that year, I returned to school a changed person. I told no one what had happened. No one at school would believe me. To them, it was just another kidnapping incident that was miraculously rescued. But I know clearly, what I saw that night was not just a normal capture mission. It's comforting, subtle, silent, and very real. And the scariest thing is, it can happen anywhere. In quiet neighborhoods, in homes with open windows. To anyone who is tired and off guard, like I once was, I'm not sharing this story to scare you. I'm telling it all because I understand feeling of helplessness. When people around you don't see what you see, don't believe what you know to be true. I tell you this so you understand that intuition exists for a reason when you feel what's wrong. Don't ignore it, believe in it, act on it, because sometimes what you don't see is what matters most. And I also want to write this again for those who are living in self-doubt. If you ever feel like, I'm the only one who finds this weird, no, don't be crazy. You are sane above all else. I still remember his eyes. And I will never forget the two little girls under the light. But I learned that silence cannot be the default response to the unexpected if you see something wrong. Whether it's an ice cream truck parked at the wrong time, a stranger cruising the neighborhood, or just a vague intuition, do it. Say it. Write it down. Ask. Call. Act. For the moment you are silent. Maybe all the time the evil needs to escape. Thanks for following along. If this story made you think, made you nervous, or simply you want to shorten it tonight, leave a comment below. Write something like, right finger, I've been there and no one believed me. Right finger, thank you for telling me. It's wonderful that two children were saved. Right finger, this story makes me never consider ice cream trucks as harmless again. Please share this story with your friends. You don't know who else is out there. Need to hear it at the right time. And if you want to continue hearing stories like this, real, mysterious, and always leave something behind, don't forget. Headphone click like, comment your feelings, and subscribe to the channel after 0 hours to not miss the next stories. We will always be here, after 0 100, waiting for you to come back to listen to things that not everyone gets to tell.